Liberals. What can I tell you about liberals? Well, they're liars and hypocrites and are truly without principles. They also have a real affinity for face masks and the mandates that came with them. And I guess that mask obsession still holds given New York City Mayor Eric Adams is now directing stores to have customers drop their masks. Wait, what?
We are putting out a clear call to all of our shops. Do not allow people to enter the store without taking off their face mask. And then once they're inside, they can continue to wear if they so desire to do so.
Are y'all as confused as I am? The man who pushed forced masking and vaxxing and a number of other COVID infringements now wants to ensure customers drop their masks when entering a store to reassure store owners and workers they aren't criminals? And while those stupid face masks do make it easier to anonymously commit crimes, in New York City, what difference does it really make? Because known thugs and felons with rap sheets a mile long still get away with all of their lawlessness, masked or unmasked. These liberals change their rules and their policies with the wind because, as I said before, they are principleless and shameless and will never admit they have botched literally everything they've touched, from COVID to crime and everywhere in between. But speaking of shameless and botched on every level, my next loser of the week is the woman who is a Joe heartbeat away from being our president and commander-in-chief. Her public appearances are always cringe-worthy, but this one in particular was gag-worthy even for her.
I grew up learning about, we called it ecology at the time. And so some of us who were born around that time know what I'm saying. And we talked about it in the context of conservation. In fact, I'm going to share with you a very simple story, which is that I went home one day and I said, well, why are conservatives bad, Mommy? Because I thought we were supposed to conserve things. I couldn't reconcile it. Now I can.
Ladies, gentlemen, they, thems. This is the administration of unity right before your eyes, telling you proudly, zestfully, the age when they were trained to hate half the country. You know, it doesn't matter if the story is real or something she made up to be funny. The fact that she thought it was funny and cute is bad enough. And you wonder why Democrats want Joe to run again so they don't have to diversity pick Kamala. At least he has a dementia excuse. But on to my third losers of the week. Listen, I know all of y'all are not Bravo reality junkies like I am, and that's fair. And I'm sorry if you have no idea who or what I'm talking about, or quite frankly, don't care. I get it. But this scandal, this scandival, as they call it, has been burning my ass, so I had to add these losers, these cheaters, these shameless weasels to my loser list right alongside the aforementioned Democrats. Tom Sandoval and Raquel, real name Rachel Leviss, from the Bravo show Vanderpump Rules. And here's why. Tom Sandoval has been seriously dating and then living with his girlfriend, Ariana Madix, for 9 freaking years now. But reality fans like myself were disgusted, and I mean disgusted, to discover Tom Sandoval has been secretly cheating on Ariana with Raquel, another cast member and close friend of Ariana, for the last 6 months or more, reportedly at times in Ariana's own home while she was asleep. Now, this bombshell has been rocking the reality and social media world for nearly a week now, and I'll admit it, I've been fully sucked in. And Tom and Raquel, you are trash. Now, I get it. This reality crap probably doesn't matter to most of you, but I admit it does matter to me, and I'll use it as proof that, yes, conservatives do care about pop culture, and we do get wrapped up in it just like our liberal counterparts. See, we aren't so different after all, I promise. Trump-Russia collusion, Hunter Biden's laptop, COVID, social media bias, and censorship, all things they lied about. And now, thanks to Speaker McCarthy and Tucker Carlson, we can add another event to that list. January freaking 6th.
Within hours of January 6th, literally hours, you began to hear that day described as a deadly insurrection, and not described by one news outlet or one politician, but in unison by all of them. Almost like it was coordinated. A deadly insurrection. That's how history may record January 6th.
There was a deadly insurrection that the right wing is trying to cover up.
He incited a deadly insurrection.
Incited a deadly insurrection.
The violent, deadly insurrection on the Capitol 9 months ago, it was about white supremacy, in my view.
To prove the insurrection was deadly, propagandists pointed to the death of an officer called Brian Sicknick. The mob killed Officer Brian Sicknick. That's what they said. It was their single most powerful indictment of the January 6th protesters and of Donald Trump and of Republican voters nationally. They repeated that claim for years. They are still repeating it. At first, they told the country that Officer Sicknick was murdered with a fire extinguisher.
Officer Brian Sicknick died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher during the fight.
That story came from the New York Times, which is effectively the assignment editor for most of the rest of American media. To this day, media accounts describe Sicknick as someone who was, quote, slain on January 6th. The video we reviewed proves that is a lie. Here is surveillance footage of Sicknick walking in the Capitol after he was supposedly murdered by the mob outside. By all appearances, Sicknick is healthy and vigorous. He's wearing a helmet, so it's hard to imagine he was killed by a head injury. Whatever happened to Brian Sicknick was very obviously not the result of violence he suffered at the entrance to the Capitol. This tape overturns the single most powerful and politically useful lie the Democrats have told us about January 6th.
It wasn't a deadly insurrection, and we actually knew that well before Speaker McCarthy gave Tucker those tapes, and well before we saw some of that footage this week. Officer Brian Sicknick did die after January 6th, but it was from a stroke from natural causes. Still, the left has been parading around that lie for 2 years in a sick and sorry attempt to trivialize that man's life as fodder for their Trump derangement. Let's also keep in mind, January 6th is the only day Democrats have given a hoot about law enforcement in the last 10 years plus, and only so they could weaponize it against Trump and Trump supporters. Now listen up. That's not to say what happened on January 6th wasn't atrocious and horrible. It was. Some of those people acted abhorrently, and it made me sick, and it still makes me sick thinking about it. That's not who we are as conservatives or Trump supporters. But the fact that we have been bald-faced lied to about at least some of the events of January 6th is also repulsive, like the supposed QAnon shaman who violently busted into the Capitol. Weird. Because it sure looks like he was actually escorted through the Capitol to me. And the Democrats and mainstream media hacks don't want you to know the truth because it might change your politics or leave you a little more educated, and they don't want that.
These lies continue tonight. Rupert Murdoch, who has admitted they were lies and said he regretted it, has a special obligation to stop Tucker Carlson from going on tonight now that he's seen how he has perverted and slimed the truth, and from letting him go on again and again and again. Not because their views deserve such opprobrium, but because our democracy depends on it.
What's done in the dark will always be brought to light, even if it's just Tucker Carlson who's brave enough to do it. And you know who is even more slimy and disgusting than all of them? These two snakes right here, Kinzinger and Cheney, who were more than thrilled to sit their happy rhino asses on that sham January 6th committee, all in the name of truth and transparency. Y'all are full of it, and you're worse than any Democrat out there. Folks, January 6th was an awful day. It was an embarrassing day, but it was not a deadly insurrection. And the fact that the leftists, the rhinos, and their pals in the media wanted it to be so badly just to crap on Trump and Trump supporters is disgusting. The truth dies in darkness, and the truth is right now on its last friggin' leg. I'm pissed, and you should be too.